The Swami comes when you take steps.
Shakti samudra samudra darshita prema vijrivitaranga shakti samudra samudra darshita prema vijrivitaranga samshayana Nami Guru Sharanam Bhagavatam Naradeva Deva Jaya Jaya Naradeva Naradeva Deva Jaya Jaya Naradeva Naradeva Deva Jaya Jaya Naradeva Advaya Tattva Samahita Chitta Projala Bhakti Padamrita Vritam Advaya Tattva Samahita Chitta Projala Bhakti Padamrita Vritam Jaya Jaya Naradeva Naradeva Deva Jaya Jaya Naradeva Naradeva Deva Jaya Jaya.
Pranams to Thakur, Swamiji. Pranams to Swamijis. Namaste to all the devotees who are here for this great and noble divine day with Swami Atmajnananandaji and Swami Sumanasanandaji. And today is a special day for us, and we are extremely happy to have Swami Sumanasanandaji from Hollywood, our center, for the very first time here with Swami Atmajnanandaji. Today we have a full day packed with the agenda, with the sessions from Swami Atmajnanandaji as well as from Swami Sumanasanandaji, both in the morning as well as in the afternoon. And we have choir programs. That is, it's a day filled with a lot of events until 6:30 p.m., followed by Arati and meditation. I would like to that is introduce both Swami Sumanasanandaji as well as Atmajnanandaji. That is now about Swami Sumanasanandaji. Swami is currently the assistant minister in our Hollywood Center, California, and prior to that, he was president of the Ramakrishna Center of South Africa. In Durban, based in Durban. Swami Sumanasanandaji ordained his monk of Ramakrishna order in 1991 by the most revered Srimad Swami Bhuteshananda, the 12th president of Ramakrishna Math and Ramakrishna Mission. From 1980 to 2009, Swami served in various capacities in different centers of Ramakrishna Mission in West Bengal, India. Swami's services has been very extensive in educating and uplifting several thousand poor and orphan families, orphan students. And I am very glad to note that I am one such a student, that is helped by Ramakrishna Mission Order. And Swami was the hostel superintendent and principal of Ramakrishna Mission High School at Ramharipur and the principal of Ramakrishna Mission Higher Secondary School at Malda. Under his leadership, the school was upgraded from secondary to higher secondary school. Students of the school achieved outstanding results like any other school. at the state level board examinations, with one student being placed first in the state level. From May 2009 to March 2015, Swami served as the head of Ramakrishna Mission Ashrama, Cherrapunji, Meghalaya, Northeast India, which at the time had ran 68 schools with nearly 10,000 students and 300 teachers located in various parts of the state. Swami also constructed several school buildings in Cherrapunji and conducted relief services in different parts of Northeast India, apart from organizing value-based education programs for teachers, students, parents, and medical professionals. Swami also conducted youth and teachers conventions and various cultural and musical programs in different renowned educational institutions in India. Swami has published a number of books in different languages on the life and teachings of Swami Vivekananda in commemoration of Swamiji's 150th birth anniversary, and has toured extensively giving spiritual discourses in 7 states of Northeastern India. Swami was posted to South Africa as President of Ramakrishna Center of South Africa in July 2015 in commemoration of 75th anniversary of Ramakrishna Center of South Africa and the 150th anniversary of Sister Nivedita. Swami was instrumental in installing 5 statues of Swami Vivekananda in Durban, the first in the Southern Hemisphere and African continent, Ladysmith, Newcastle, Chatsworth, and Phoenix. Swami was instrumental in the re-affiliation of the Ramakrishna Vedanta Center, Lusaka, Zambia, to the Ramakrishna Mission, Belur, and was also spiritual director and secretary, while concurrently being president of the Ramakrishna Center of South Africa. During Swami's time, a new center, the Ramakrishna Vedanta Center of Cape Town, was set up and was officially opened by most revered Srimad Swami Atmajnananandaji Maharaj, the current Vice President, Ramakrishna Math and Ramakrishna Mission, in December 2019. Swami also has been instrumental in expanding the services of the Ramakrishna Medical Clinic across South Africa, and more specifically in KwaZulu, Natal. Under Swami's guidance, the construction of a new medical clinic and a wellness center has commenced at Durban Center. Swami has also traveled extensively and lectured throughout South Africa, USA, Bangladesh, and Botswana. Now, welcome Swamiji to our center. We are delighted to have you here. Now, about Swami Atmajnanananda, we do not have to tell. He is the founder of this center, and even before this center was opened, Swami was very instrumental. He has been our guru for the last several years outside this center, and Swami was instrumental for anything, everything, each part and each inch of this center. Swami has just done with his hands, including the dice. And so Swami Atmajnanananda, and popularly known as Stuart Maharaj, is the monk of Ramakrishna order, joined in 1981. Swami earned his bachelor degree in philosophy from Northwestern University and PhD in Indian philosophy from University of Pennsylvania. Swami is currently resident minister at the Vedanta Center of Washington, D.C., Greater Washington, D.C. Also, very important to say, Swami is our founder, as I just already mentioned to you, very closely working with Swami Sarvadevananda Hollywood Center. And Swami's day-to-day guidelines and advice, we run and manage the day-to-day operations of our center. Thank you, Swami, for all your guidelines and support. Swami is a scholar in Indian philosophy and traveled extensively throughout India and Bangladesh, contributed various articles in translations to books and magazines of the Ramakrishna order. One of Swami's articles was published in Living Wisdom, Vedanta in the West. Swami also authored Jiva Goswami's Tattva Sandarbha, which is a study on the philosophical and sectarian development of the Gaudiya Vaishnava movement, published by Motilal Banarasidas in 1986 under his pre-monastic name. He envisions that with the help of a healthy imagination and a smattering of devotion, all actions can be converted into acts of worship. All activities can be spiritualized until the line of demarcation between sacred and secular, spiritual practice and world duties begins to gradually melt away. Welcome, Swami. With both Swamis present today on such a great day, we would like to get started with the devotional songs. And the first one will be, that is Shiva will be offering a Carnatic song on Saraswati, which is a goddess of wisdom and knowledge. And Saraswati is also very famously and popularly called as Sri Sarada. Shiva is just graduated from Trumbull High School as a senior, and he is proceeding to Georgia Tech to pursue his biomedical engineering. By this time next week, he will be moving to Georgia, and he will be, that is, he was also a volunteer in the center, tutoring math to students when we started the center for about 6 to 8 months. With that, I request Shiva to make his divine offering on Saraswati to Tapurma and Swamiji. Thank you. Yeah. Now, Maya, our youngest devotee of the center from day one, she will welcome both Swamijis with a flower. Thank you. Maya.
Good. Very good.
Yeah. Maya, come here.
We have to take a photo, man. Okay.
Maya, Devi. Okay. One another request, please maintain absolute silence when you are in the shrine. Please enjoy the program. Thank you.
सरस्वती नमोस्तुते शारदे विद्याप्रदे 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 सरस्वती नमोस्तुते करधृत वीणा पुस्तका करधृत वीणा पुस्तका करधृत वीणा पुस्तका वरमणिमालालङ्कृत करधृत वीणा पुस्तका वरमणिमालालङ्कृत सरि म पद प म पद स नि द प म रि स नि द स सरि म पद ध प म पद स नि द प म रि स नि द सरि म पद सरि म रि स नि द प म रि स रि स नि द सरस्वती नमोस्तुते शारदे विद्याप्रदे सरस्वती नमोस्तुते नरहरि सुत विधिलालित नरहरि सुत विधिलालित नवमणियुत कंबुगले नरहरि सुत विधिलालित नवमणियुत कंबुगले नरहरि सुत विधिलालित नवमणियुत कंबुगले सुरसेविता पदयुगले सुरसेविता पदयुगले Sudakar samadavale Surasevita padayugale Sudakar samadavale Sarima pada pama pada sa Nida pamari sa nida sa sarima pada da pama pada sa nida pamari sa Sarima pada sarima hari sa nida pamari sari sa nida Saraswati Namostute Sharade Vidya Prade Saraswati Namostute
Maharaj, I'm going to do a mother song.
I request Swami Atmajnananandaji to immerse us with his spiritual session for the next 1 hour.
This is okay? Or it has to be higher?
Thank you, Doctor.
Can you hear me now? Where? Yeah, I don't plan on saying anything very important. It's okay?
Whatever you say, Mohan,
Oh.
I want to listen to that.
Anyhow, it's nice to be here, as always. Very happy that our Swami Sumanasanandaji Maharaj is here also. He graced our center when he was still head of the South Africa Center. And now we're meeting again after some time. So, Maharaj, very nice that you could be here. He's suffering a little from a sore throat, but I think he'll be fine. Last night, even with the sore throat, he sang and spoke and everything very nicely. The topic this morning is be attached. Now, when I came up with this title, I knew that it would be a little bit confusing, that constantly we're telling people be unattached. But it's not so straightforward. There are a lot of very subtle intricacies of this question. Sometimes a detachment is not such a wonderful thing. Sometimes detachment is a sign of laziness, disengagement, a tamasic type of attitude. And sometimes attachment, we don't apply it to ordinary life. We say, okay, be attached. That means to be attached to God, the Holy Company, and everything. This is also true. But is there any value to being attached to family, to work? Is there some way that we can turn it into something positive? So I want to go through some of these questions about attachment and detachment. A lot of this is based on some of the ideas of Swami Vivekananda. He has a beautiful lecture called Work and Its Secret. And he talks about this idea of being attached, equal power of attachment and detachment. So I'll try to go through some of these ideas. We'll have a little time for question and answer. We started late. Unfortunately, most of you know there was some problem with traffic and everything. But still, we'll try to get through all of this. So yes, I want to talk a little bit about some of the maybe misconceptions we have about this idea of attachment and detachment. This misconception is something that's very easy for all of us. We have the same problem sometimes with this question of desires. Or all desires bad desires, or some good or some harmless and everything. So we'll find the same thing with attachment and detachment, because they both play a very important role in our lives. And we have to know when we really need to be attached to things and when we have to practice this type of detachment. So there's no one very simple formula that attachment is always bad and detachment is always good. We'll find that sometimes there are very subtle distinctions to be made. And that, as I said before, it may be a sign of laziness, tamasic attitude, if we're always detached. A fearful attitude, afraid of doing things because we may get too close to them, and there'll be some fear of separation and losing things and everything. So there are times when we have to add a little bit of rajas and sattva to all of this. And then we'll find that attachment can be very helpful for us. So yes, we have to learn to be attached sometimes, but to eliminate that bondage element and the selfish element. So there'll be a very positive way that we can practice also attachment. I want to start by looking at some of the traditional ideas about attachment and detachment, especially as taught by Sri Ramakrishna. When we go through the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, we find that this is something that is very prominent in his teachings. This need for mental renunciation. Of course, external and internal, both for monks. For householders, this idea of mental dispassion, mental renunciation, where we live in the world, but without any type of attachment. And I want to go through this by analyzing three different dual concepts, kind of twin concepts. First one will be Vairagya and Anuraga. Vairagya, generally we take to mean renunciation. Here we can say dispassion. Anuraga also can mean love, or we'll take that as passion. So dispassion and passion. This will be one set. Second set of concepts will be nivritti and pravritti. These are very classical distinctions. They go back to the early Vedic period and everything. Nivritti, withdrawing in a very positive way, turning inward, trying to not get too involved in external things, finding that divine presence within our own hearts. And pravritti, which means there's an outgoing tendency of the mind. Now, traditionally, there's a little bit of bias against this pravritti. It's thought to mean a little bit of restlessness and attachment and everything, but we'll find that also has a role to play. And the third will be daya and maya. This is something that Sri Ramakrishna talks about quite often in the gospel. This maya will be attachment and love for our near and dear ones. There'll be some personal connection that we have. And this daya, it won't really be so much opposed to maya, but expanding it, so that we have that that feeling of oneness and closeness and identification with everyone. So these will be these three different pairs of concepts that will kind of frame this discussion this morning. So the first is Vairagya and Anuraga. Now these both come from the same Sanskrit root, ranj. This ranj is a very interesting root. It means to dye something, and generally to dye something the color red. So we'll have this different words, rakta, the word for blood. There'll be so many different words that come from this. It's that passion that will even color the cheeks with red. Blood will rush to the face. So this rakta, ranj, it all kind of goes together, a little bit connected with this, the guna of rajas, this activity and passion and everything. So we'll get this word raga. Now, raga also, depending on what we put in front of it, viraga, anuraga. It can be a very positive thing, a negative thing. Raga itself, it can be everything from anger to love. All sorts of different things. I was wondering also the English word rage, if that comes from raga. I never took the time to check some etymological dictionary, but something like that. So there's a big range of meanings, and it changes very much. Sanskrit is like that by the prefix that we put in front of it. So we put viraga, this V in front of it, and it means that we're free from all of this passion, that we're very much detached. We get the word vairagya from viraga, very much detached from things that We're not attracted by the world very much. This vairagya, actually, it has a very positive meaning. Sometimes we fail to understand. It sounds a little bit just, oh, I don't care for this or for that we can be free from attachment, everything. But especially for those who renounce everything, is vairagya is a tremendously strong type of emotion. It's something that becomes overpowering. Those who take the monastic life, they'll all go through this period. And Sri Ramakrishna, he gives some very graphic types of descriptions that this world will seem like a raging forest fire. You need to escape from it. Your relatives will seem like venomous black cobras, everything. Yeah, so very strong. But it's not just to get away, that this tremendous longing to throw off this bondage of ignorance. This is all part of vairagya. And the householder has to have that spirit to a certain extent also. So it's not that it's just for monks, but with monks, of course, it means not getting involved in family life, in career and everything like that. For the householder, it means inwardly this desire to have that divine connection, have that experience, to not get too entangled in the world. So everybody needs a little bit of this vairagya, freeing the mind from this sense of ego and this longing for praise and longing for recognition and everything. All of this is part of that vairagya. Now, this vairagya plays a very special role when it comes to meditation. We all know that great question that Arjuna asks Sri Krishna, that how is it possible to control the mind? It's easier to control the wind than to control the mind. So we get two answers. The first is abhyasa yoga. That means you keep trying. You spend a little time in meditation, mind wanders, you pull it back, wanders, pull it. But a whole lifetime can go with this type of practice, abhyasa yoga, and we won't make much progress unless we have the second half, vairagya, this vairagya, unless we have some dispassion from the world. The world is stronger than our minds. If it's just the power of the mind to pull it away from the world will win every time. So we have to have some dispassion, and we have to live that type of life where we're not attached to things. Now, this is where Sri Ramakrishna, he brings in this anuraga, because he says these first two are not enough. See, Sri Krishna, he'll say the first two. First, abhyasa yoga, then vairagya. And Sri Ramakrishna will say, yes, vairagya, but that's also too hard. Abhyasa yoga is not possible just the mind. Vairagya is not possible just being detached from things, that we need something positive to pull us from the other side, anuraga. So you'll notice in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, almost invariably, when he talks about this passion for the world, he'll talk about passion for God. He'll add this anuraga, which is extremely important. So now we see that these things are not so opposed to each other. Either we're attached, we have to have attachment to God to be detached from the world. Then it becomes easy. So what do? We increase this anuraga. We increase that attachment to God. That automatically lessens our attachment to the world. That helps us with his abhyasa yoga, because when we try to concentrate the mind, it's these desires and this is all of the longing for enjoyment that we have in the world, that infects the mind, that pulls the mind away. All the attachments to the world. This is what prevents us from concentrating the mind in meditation. Sometimes we think, oh, we don't know the right meditation technique, or we're doing something wrong in meditation. The problem is with the mind. The problem is that we have too many attachments and things. So we have to have this detachment, dispassion, but Sri Ramakrishna explains that even that's not enough. There has to be something positive that pulls us. So then we get this anuraga. Now, this anuraga is, it can be for personal God, it can be for the truth. This is very close to what Sri Ramakrishna calls vyakulata. that this tremendous longing for realization that will be the final stage in spiritual life. So, again, we're going back to this idea of raga, and I want to bring in again the original meaning of this, of to dye something, because Ramakrishna uses this illustration of dyeing the cloth. This is one of the nice illustrations that we have, which means that if we soak the mind in something, it'll take on the color of that. So in the Swami Atmajnananandaji's Prakritim Paramam, we have that beautiful line, Tadbhava Ranjita Akaram, that Holy Mother was dyed in the very being and mood and essence of Sri Ramakrishna. There was a nice incident in the life of Holy Mother. After Sri Ramakrishna passed away, they took her on the pilgrimage to various places, Vrindavan and other places. Swami Yogananda was her main attendant at that time. He went, Swami Yogananda, a few of them went with her. And they noticed that one day Holy Mother, she went into a very deep type of samadhi. That's almost unmoving, unusual for her. They noticed something a little bit different this time. And when the mind came down, they found that she had almost become Sri Ramakrishna. Her movements, her attitude, her everything, the way she spoke. And she asked to chew some pan. Now, it was a curious thing that Sri Ramakrishna had a way of chewing pan. He would bite off one corner and stick it in one. She did it exactly like that. This mood lasted for a while. So her meditation on Sri Ramakrishna was so deep, her mind became dyed in that, and as if she had become him. So this is that illustration of dyeing the cloth of the mind in that object of our meditation, and some transference takes place. This is one of the main reasons why we practice meditation. We want to get these divine qualities of the object of our meditation, whether it's an avatar or personal God, impersonal, and imbibe them. We want them to become part of our being, to become dyed in that. So we have this concept of dyeing the mind, and Sri Ramakrishna compares it to dyeing cloth. We know that the illustration that he gives, that various illustrations. One is that somebody comes with that vat of dye, and everyone dips their cloth in it. It comes out the color that they want, something like that. But he says that the mind is like a cloth, clean cloth, that has just come back from the laundry. Now, we know our mind is not like that, but he says that, think of it, try to picture the mind like that, and whatever you dip it into, it'll take the color of that. Now, I've often thought about this. What is the process of dyeing? We think about it a lot because we have to dye our own cloth. Sometimes we will get some pre-dyed, but most of the time, especially the old days, it was just this garuamati, this mud from the riverbed of the Ganga. So we know about dyeing cloth. And there are three different elements if we want to get the cloth to have a good color. Three different things, that factors in dyeing cloth. Can anybody guess? You've all dyed cloth at different times. The solution has to be strong, if we want it, right? The solution has to be strong. We can't dip it in and pull it out. You have to soak it. You have to give it time there. And the cloth has to be clean. Sometimes if it's, we get cloth and it's starch. You have to wash the starch out, or sometimes if there's any stain on it, it won't take the dye. So we have a little bit of a contradiction here, that we automatically think that the mind has to be pure in order to be able to dip it in the thought of God, that it'll take the color. But Sri Ramakrishna says, try to think of it the other way. Of course, we have to practice purity, we know that. But main point is that best way to clean the cloth of the mind is by dipping it in the thought of God. So if we wait, then it'll never get done. There's a verse that Swami Turiyananda used to repeat sometimes, that says, if you want to think of God, then don't wait until everything else is taken care of. He says it's like the fool who stands on the shore of the ocean and says, I'll go for a dip when the waves subside. We can't wait for the mind to become pure before we start practicing. The best way to purify the mind is through meditation. We'll find that there are other things, of course. We have our holy company, we have doing japa, so many different things to do, but so we have to do all of these things. We have to practice all of these things. So the first one was intensity. That if we really want to dive that mind, the solution has to be strong. That means we have to dive deep within. That we have to really have some intensity of desire and longing of the heart to have some type of transformation and some type of realization. That love has to be there. We can't float on the surface. There won't be any intensity to that. So we have to dive deep. Doob Dao, this is one of Sri Krishna's favorite expressions. Dive deep. Dive deep in the ocean. Doob, 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 Rup Shagari. The song he sang so many times. Dive deep in the ocean of God's beauty to the Vrindavan within the heart. So there has to be that intensity in our spiritual practice. Then time factor. How long do we give it? This is always an important question. Sometimes we think, and it may be rationalization, we may be fooling ourselves, that if the intensity of our meditation is enough, we don't have to spend too much time. Yeah, this is a very nice way of getting out of sitting for meditation for a long time. And we'll find that there's no substitute for the time factor. There's no substitute for that. And it's a sign of our priority. What do we want out of this life? Are we serious about spiritual life? If we are, then it'll be a top priority. We'll give it time. For most people, and I speak out of personal experience, it takes a long time for the mind to get quiet. And I have this theory that most of the time we get up before we've given the mind a chance to get quiet. And if we had sat longer, the final 10, 15 minutes may have been very deep, wonderful type of meditation. And we never get to it. We say, oh, my mind was restless today. So we have to put up with a little bit of restlessness of the mind. Let the mind get tired first. The mind gets tired out, then it'll become quiet a little bit. Let it run around a little bit first. Swamiji even says that in the beginning of meditation. Let the mind wander. Don't try to control it too much, but watch it. Watch the mind. And on its own, it'll start to slow down and get a little bit quiet. So this is that second factor, this time factor with dying the mind. And the third one, this purity, that we also have to make an effort to lead a pure type of life. There's no question about that. But we should never feel that, oh, I'm not pure enough, that I can't do meditation, that these bad thoughts will come. They'll come. They come to everyone. This is just the nature of the mind. But this, through our spiritual practice, this is one of the main things that will come if we're genuine and serious about it, that some purity of mind will come through that. So these are the three factors. We need a little bit of intensity, that the longing for something higher in spiritual life. We need to devote enough time to it. And we have to really try to purify the heart. Now, what is this purification of heart? That it means trying to get rid of all of these different passions and things. That we all suffer from a little bit of this anger and jealousy and hatred, lust and greed and pride, all of these things, that we have to make an effort to try to eliminate these from our minds. Of course, this is a big topic. There are many different ways of doing it. But one important way is just to keep telling ourselves that this is not what I want out of my life. Life is too short to be always angry at people and jealous of people and quarrels with everybody. This is not the purpose of life. when I'm wasting my time, I'm destroying this mind by making it always restless. And when I sit for meditation, it comes back. I all these quarrels and all these difficulties with people, it'll infect the meditation. So it's one nice technique is just to remind ourselves that life is too short, that it's not worth it, that the people have their own way of seeing things and everything. God bless them. I'm not going to let it disturb me. That's all. So this is that first pair, we can say, Vairagya and Anuraga. So we'll find that it's not two opposite things. We want dispassion from the world, and we want to get rid of passion for everything else. No, we want passion for God and dispassion for the world, and they work together. Okay. Now, second pair of opposites, not opposites also. They look like opposites. Pravriti and Nivriti. And this is a distinction that's very sharp, but gets blurred. It's very sharp in the beginning. Either we go deep within or we let the mind go outward. It's very clear. We want to practice this inwardness and this deep contemplation and everything. We don't want the mind to go out and get attached to the world and everything. But in practice, we find that we have to do both together. And when we get to Bhagavad Gita, we find that this is exactly the advice that Sri Krishna gives to Arjuna. Yudhyasva vigadajvaraha. So the two words, two opposite things. This Yudhyasva, fight, go fight in that battle. But do it with a very calm mind. Let this mind not, this jvara, this is the same raga. That don't let there be any of this extreme restlessness of mind. Do it calmly without any type of attachment and everything. Now, again, attachment, this comes up again. Does this mean we don't care about the results? This is another confusion sometimes with Karma Yoga, that we're not supposed to be attached to the fruits of action. Huh? Does that mean that Arjuna doesn't care who wins the battle? No. Why engage in battle if you don't care? We have to have goals in spiritual life, as we have goals in the ordinary life. So if someone's a scientist and they say that, oh, I'm working on a cure for cancer, we have some drugs that maybe somebody says, what do you think about the results? He says, oh, I don't care about the results. I'm a karma yogi. It's ridiculous. We have to passion again. These are the misconceptions. We have not just passion for everything. We have to have passion for everything that we do, but there should be no secondary motive or personal motive or selfish motive to it. We're doing it strictly because it's something that will benefit others if we can come up with a cure for cancer, for example. So we have to make a distinction between the goal-oriented and reward-oriented. It's good to be goal-oriented. We have to have goals in life, but we don't care for any personal reward. We may say that some appreciation from our peers is welcome, fine, but praise we don't care for. All these subtle, very subtle distinctions that we have. So we need to bring in a little bit of this nivriti with our pravriti, that be engaged in the world. We can take this pravriti not so much as attachment, but it's engagement. Be engaged in the world, but without any personal involvement. I know it's difficult, but, and also if it doesn't turn out the way we want it to, we accept it. Swamiji has a very simple formula. He says, when we're working, work is just everything depends upon us. And when it comes to the results, feel that everything depends upon God. So then just let it go. But we have to be engaged. Now, what Swamiji did is he took this formula and he applied it to the monks also, that we're also engaged in the world. If you look at the work of the Ramakrishna Mission in India, how much work we do for students, for patients, the hospital work, relief work, and everything else. So we also practice pravriti in the sense of engagement, not in the sense of attachment, and nivriti in the sense of no personal attachment to anything. that we do it as worship. This is the real key, that we can do it as worship. Okay, now I want to get to this third, Maya and Daya. Maya has its own particular meaning. I don't know about other languages, but at least in Bengali. I'll tell you an interesting story. I spent 1 year as a student in India. I had a fellowship, and I stayed in Kolkata for 1 year, and I rented 2 small rooms in a house, just a local Bengali family there. And I became very friendly with that family. They were very nice. That sometimes they would invite me up or send some food down for me, and we would go on trips together, and we became very fond of them. So one day, the man of the family, he was only maybe 10 years older than I was, he said to me, "Do you know the meaning of Maya?" Now, I was a philosophy student, so I said, yeah, I sort of know the meaning. I think I know the meaning of Maya, as much as it's possible to know. And then he goes, "We've developed Maya for you."
Oh, my goodness.
And then I said, "Oh, okay, so there's a whole different meaning." So the Maya means some type of very sweet type of attachment. Maya that the mother has for the child and everything, that type of Maya. So then I learned something new. So this is what Thakur means, that is Maya, and love for our own near and dear ones. And it's a circle that gets a little bit bigger and bigger. First our family, then our community, then our country. It gets a little bigger, but it excludes other people. It's always exclusive to some extent. If I love my own family, then the other family, not that I hate them, but compared to them, I love my family more. And it'll be the same thing with our language group, with our religious group, with our nationality, everything. So the formula here is to expand this feeling of Maya so that it encompasses the whole world, so that we feel one with everybody. We don't make any of these types of distinctions that these are my people, there are other people, that no one is a stranger. The Holy Mother's wonderful teaching about that. There was a nice conversation that took place between Swami Vivekananda and this Robert Ingersoll. He was a speaker in this country. You know, when Swamiji came to this country, there weren't movies and things like that. So either there was some stage thing or some opera or something, but a lot of lectures. People attended lectures, and he was a famous speaker. He was known as an agnostic. So we spoke about practical things. So we had a conversation with Swamiji one time, and he said to Swamiji, "You know, my conviction is that this life is meant to be enjoyed. That like an orange, that we want to squeeze the juice out of the orange." So Swamiji said, "Very good, I have the same belief. Yeah. But you have your wife and children, family. For me, I love everybody equally. So I can squeeze the orange and get every last drop of juice out of it." So his idea was that this limited type of love and enjoyment and the connection with other people, nothing compared to this feeling of oneness with everybody. Yeah. Now, if we suffer along with the suffering of our near and dear ones, how much more will it be if we relate to the entire world? Will this be something unbearable? In one sense, yes. We have the example of Swamiji that if he would hear or even know without even hearing about it, if he would know somehow some tragedy took place, some other country, there was an earthquake, how many people died, he would be beside himself. Whole night he would stay up, he couldn't sleep. That he would suffer along with the suffering of others. But it's not the same as this Maya suffering. This Maya suffering always comes back to me, that how I am affected. If we lose a loved one, we may be convinced there's a good person will be in heaven or will have realization, something like that. Still, why do we grieve so much and mourn so much? My loss. So with Swamiji, this feeling of oneness with everyone, it's a type of suffering. But I have this conviction that it's a type of feeling of expansion. And I won't say joy, but some feeling of being one with the entire universe. It must be some very high, elevated type of experience. So it's something that we really have no way of judging. When we look at the lives of Sri Ramakrishna and Holy Mother and Swamiji, do we find a lot of detachment? On some level, of course, absolutely, on some level. On another level, tremendous attachment, tremendous, far more than we're capable of, because we have our little feeling of self-protection and everything. Doesn't allow us to love people freely. They could love absolutely freely, absolutely, because they didn't have that concealment and protection and what will people think. They were completely free from all of that. So for Sri Ramakrishna, he emphasized more this idea of engagement, living in the world, this experiencing things. He didn't like the very dry type of attitude, fearful type of attitude, or always being afraid that, I'll get too much attached to this, that what will happen if I lose something, then I'll grieve because of that. He didn't like that attitude very much. He warned his disciples, of course, don't get involved too much in the world and everything, but he didn't like this dry attitude. There was one conversation where he asked one of his disciples that, who do you love? And he said, I don't love anybody. He said, what a dry fellow. So he didn't like that type of attitude, that he wanted people to, his disciples to be free and open without that attachment. This is very difficult for most people, but say, for example, he asked another disciple about how do you look upon women? Young disciple. And he said, I won't look at them. I don't want to get near them. This causes bondage and attachment. And he said, no, my child. See them as the Divine Mother manifest before you. And then you won't have to worry about anything. So, Sri Ramakrishna, he was the embodiment of joy. There's nothing dry about him. That he had such love for his disciples, and it looked like terrible attachment. How he was criticized by Hridoy and Hazra and others there, so attached to these young boys, how he would weep for them. But completely different, based on something completely different. And he used to talk about these ancient days, these rishis who were so afraid of everything. They're very nice conversation with Pandit Shashadhar. I'll read, this is from the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. The rishis of old had timid natures. They were easily frightened. Do you know their attitude? It was this: let me somehow get my own salvation. Who cares for others? A hollow piece of driftwood somehow manages to float, but it sinks even if a bird sits on it. But Narada and sages of his kind are like a huge log that not only can float across to the other shore, but can carry many animals and other creatures across. Teachers like Narada belong to the class of the Vijnani. Those who have had the highest realization come back to live in the world to help others. They were much more courageous than the other rishis. They're like an expert satranja player. You must have noticed how he shouts as he throws the dice. What do I want? 6, no 5. Here is 5. And every time he throws the dice, he gets the number he wants. He is such a clever player. So for Sri Ramakrishna, this nivritti, turning inward, doesn't mean that we flee from the world, that we fly from the world out of fear. And he had different methods for people to live in the world. One was, I think, my favorite. He said, live in the world like the maid servant in the rich man's home. We know this because he mentioned it so many times. There's a reason why there's so much repetition in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. Because we need to hear these things over and over again, and we need to put them into practice. It's a very beautiful illustration. We know about it because it's common in this country also, that wealthy people have nannies. They'll have somebody who comes in and will look after the children. And sometimes in the early morning, you go to a park and you'll see all these nannies are there with the little kids in strollers, and they'll all be chatting and everything, and they'll be gossiping. Yeah, what my the child did and this and everything. So Swami Krishna said, yes, what my Haru did and my Shivu did and everything, but they know that they're not their children. They don't belong to them. They'll talk about, we had some renovation done in our house. It's not her house. She knows that. And she knows she has her own house in the village. She comes in to do that work, own house in the village, her own family and everything there. She never forgets that. But she lives and talks as if this is her own. So Swami Krishna says, we should do this. Or our children, how do they belong to us? Were they ours in the past lifetime? We don't know. Will they not have their own independent existence and make their own decisions and everything? That we should feel privileged that we can serve them and everything, but we have to let go of them. My mother had an expression that I heard many times growing up. She said, we give our children roots and we give them wings. A very nice idea. We try to ground them in something and then let them go. They'll fly off, they'll have their own lives. I don't think she really believed it or meant it, but she used to say it all the time. So this is a very beautiful idea. Even a husband and wife, we shouldn't be possessive that they really belong to us. We serve them in this lifetime, and we do it with full knowledge that we have our own home someplace else, that we belong to God, and that's our real relationship. We even with our own family, say we take this idea, this Bhava, Shantan Bhava, Thakur talks about, that I look upon God as my real mother. Then what about my earthly mother, biological mother? Yes, I have a temporary relationship with her. I love her dearly and everything. But my sense of identification is with this divine mother. So that cuts a little bit this attachment that comes. So Sri Ramakrishna recommends this very much. And then, as I say, this attitude where we expand everything, this Maya and Daya, that idea. And we find that if we have attachment and love for everybody, then it becomes a little bit less for our own. If we hear that many people are suffering from something, and our own child is suffering from that, it softens it a little bit. So this expanding everything reduces that. Everything goes back to this personal attachment and this ego type of attachment. Now there's one other technique, and this is when everything else fails. If I say that this is my own child, you may say, practice this Daya, love everybody's child the way you love your own child. I'll say it's impossible. And then suppose that we try to feel that I'm the maidservant. It's not really my child that I look at it. No, it's impossible. This is my child. I know this is my child. So what does Ramakrishna say? Then have tremendous attachment, but see God in that child. Worship that child as a baby Gopal. That this will be the way that we can again cut this personal limited type of connection and relationship. Sri Ramakrishna had one devotee disciple who we can say very attached to a nephew that she was raising. So she said to Sri Ramakrishna, what can I do? I said for meditation, the idea of picture of my nephew comes in my mind. So he said, good, very good. Then meditate on that. And when you serve your nephew, feel that this is God coming in the form, baby Gopala in the form of your nephew. See God within the nephew and increase your attachment and feeling of love. And the devotee actually, within a short time, had some bhavasamadhi, some very high type of experience. So this is all different ways of trying to eliminate this limited, small, egocentric type of attachment that we have. Now, one last technique, and this is the one I like also, that if we feel it's hopeless, that I have all of these attachments, what do? Remember Sri Ramakrishna, Holy Mother, and Swamiji, and if they can have their types of attachments, we can have our types also. Only we have to look upon them as an ideal and see what it meant to them and how we can emulate them somehow, turn that attachment into something very, very positive. So I want to talk about individually Swamiji. We'll start with Swami Vivekananda. Tremendously attached to his mother. Now, he talked about it so many times, how when he was a young boy, that he and his siblings, that first thing they would do, mother would finish her bath, she would dip her toe in water, and they would take some of that charanamrita. So from a very early age, he had the tremendous devotion to his mother. She's the one who taught him spirituality, you can say. His father was also a very liberal type of person, a very generous person. He learned much from his father, but there's a tremendous attachment to his mother. At the end of his life, all he cared about was wanted to take his mother on pilgrimage. He took her to visit all the holy places in East Bengal, Assam, and everything. Thought actually of getting a little place and living with his mother at the end even. And worried constantly who will look after his mother. He had the Maharaja of Khetri to agree. He gave a certain amount of money every month. Swamiji was very relieved, then he died. And then he got Mrs. Bull and some others. So always thinking about his mother. Now, is this the same worldly type of attachment that we have? A little bit of it, because he was human. This is what Sri Ramakrishna said, even the avatar is human. And there'll be a little bit of some human type of attachment. But none of it was selfish. If anything, it was the opposite. Swamiji also had a little bit of guilt feeling that here, what a dilemma. If we stop and think, the dilemma that Narendra faced, here, on the one hand, family is starving. He's the oldest son, the only one old enough really to get a job and look after the family. On the other hand, Sri Ramakrishna is counting on him to create this monastic order and spread his message throughout the world. What? Two burdens that I have to juggle. So for Swamiji, it was really kind of a heartbreaking thing. And then one very touching incident, that when Swamiji was in the West, there was a lot of slander against him, that all false rumors came up and everything. And Swamiji wrote in one place that, I don't care what anybody says about me, but if this word gets back to my mother, now that'll hurt me so much if my mother thinks that I'm a cheat. Like that. So it was only thinking about his mother. Now, another nice illustration with Swamiji was his relationship with Goodwin. Goodwin was the one stenographer who took down in shorthand all of Swamiji's lectures and followed him to India and was so devoted to him. And when he was in South India, he got some fever and he died. And word got back to Swamiji, and Swamiji was just beside himself. And somebody said that Swamiji, it must have been God's will that Goodwin died. So Swamiji, he said, if it was God's will that that Goodwin died, is it not my right and my duty to fight such a God who took the Goodwin from me? A tremendous statement, huh? It sounds like ordinary attachment, huh? But Swamiji was not an ordinary person. I mean, his heart was so huge, and he was so emotional. He had such human emotions to him. I'm convinced, really, that the beauty and sweetness of our tradition is because of the humanness, the human personalities of Sri Ramakrishna, Holy Mother, Swamiji, and the other directors. This is that sweetness that attracts us. Not just the spirituality. There are many great spiritual souls in this world, but how it manifested so sweetly in their personalities. Then Holy Mother, we know, of course, her attachment to Radha. And this we may say, okay, this was a Thakur's trick. This was to keep her mind down, to live in the world and everything. But even, see, when Sri Ramakrishna passed away, she had no desire to live even. We can imagine that feeling of loss that she had, that he was her whole life, he was everything to her, that feeling of loss. And so many of the direct disciples, who she looked upon as her own children, that when each one died, how it just ripped out her heart almost. And it was very, very difficult for her. She had such a soft, tender type of nature that they were really her own children that way. She felt like that. Now, when we get to Sri Ramakrishna, such attachment the world has never seen. To how, when Swamiji Narendra, if he didn't come for a few days, he himself would go, almost ashamed of himself, almost apologizing. I couldn't bear to go another day without seeing you. How much love he had for him. And he would say, if I didn't see him for a day or two, it was like someone was wringing my heart. You know, this gamcha that we have in India, that people, they'll wring it out. Yeah. Can you picture somebody wringing your heart like that? So he would say, this is how it felt, that such a later, a similar type of thing came with Purna, that he longed to see this Purna. And he said to somebody, I don't remember, Palazar or something, you see this tremendous attachment I have to Purna, there's nothing compared to the way I felt when Narendra first came, or Swami Vivekananda. Then we have that nice incident with Akshay. Akshay was the son of Ram Kumar. Ram Kumar. And Ram Kumar, he had some foretelling that if his wife ever became pregnant and had a child, that she would die. And it actually happened that way. He was already living in Calcutta at this time. This boy, Akshay, he also was afraid that he won't live long. And so he never really had any relationship with him. He stayed in Kamarpukur with Akshay. Sri Ramakrishna then was probably 14, 15, 16 before to this Akshay. Then he was a very intelligent, handsome, very nice young man. When he was old enough, he came also to serve in the Dakshineshwar temple. And just as his father had seen some vision, when marriage was proposed for him, that suddenly he got very sick and he died. So the terrible thing was, it was so terrible that this all took place in the room where Sri Ramakrishna lived initially. And after he died there, he refused to live there anymore, and then he moved to the room that we know of as his present room. But Sri Ramakrishna explains that when he first died, that he laughed, that he saw, what is death? The body is there, soul is leaving. Just like you pull the sword out, the sword is not affected at all from the sheath. That he didn't have, they all thought, how strange. He didn't have any negative feelings, nothing like that. But he says the next day, I'll read this, these are his own words. But the next day I was standing on the porch outside my room, and do you know what I felt? I felt as though a wet towel were being wrung inside my heart. One of his favorite examples. That was how I suffered for Akshay. Oh, mother, I thought, this body of mine has no relation even to the cloth that enfolds it. Then how can it feel so much pain for a nephew? And if I feel so much pain, what agony must the householder suffer? Is that what you are teaching me, mother? Then he added, but you know, those who hold on to the Lord do not lose themselves in grief. So, what do we learn from these examples? One, that they all had very human hearts. Second thing is that their attachment had no selfishness to it. It had no smallness to it. It was based on this feeling of oneness in love. Sri Ramakrishna said to Narendra one time, oh, I love you so much because I see Narayana with you. The day I don't see it, I won't be able to look at your face even. So it was based on some higher type of thing. In the case of Holy Mother, it was based on her feeling of the oneness. Mother, I'm the mother of the whole universe. That she loved everybody equally. Even the British, she would say. They're also my children. The British who were doing so much mischief at that time. So it was based on her feeling of this universal motherhood. And for Swamiji, It was seeing the self dwelling within all beings, feeling that oneness on that spirit level, and even on a lower level. That he once said, this was a statement he made in San Francisco. He turned to his companions and said, I may have to be reborn. They said, why, Swamiji? He said, you see, I've fallen in love with man. So he just had that type of connection. I have a theory, I'll tell you this theory, that what was Swamiji's Ishta Devata? I think it was Nara, not sage, mankind. When Swamiji first put him into that state of ecstasy and said, I see you're Nara Rupi Narayana, God come in human form. We don't have to take it literally as that sage even. We can, of course. But I think just as Shodashi Puja time, that Sri Ramakrishna awakened that motherhood in Holy Mother, that this time he awakened that love for humankind in Swamiji. What was his name? Narendra. So this idea of Nara, Thakur saw that he was kind of humanity embodied, that he was the ideal person, and he had that special love to break all other idols, this worship of God dwelling within all human beings. Okay, I'm going to stop by reading part of this lecture that I mentioned, Work and Its Secret. This is found in volume 2 of the Complete Works, January 4th, 1900. Attachment is the source of all our pleasures now. We are attached to our friends, to our relatives. We are attached to our intellectual and spiritual works. We are attached to external objects so that we get pleasure from them. What again brings misery but this very attachment. We have to detach ourselves to earn joy. If only we had the power to detach ourselves at will, there would not be any misery. That man alone will be able to get the best of nature, who, having the power of attaching himself to a thing with all his energy, has also the power to detach himself when he should do so. The difficulty is that there must be as much power of attachment as that of detachment. There are men who are never attracted by anything. They can never love. They are hard-hearted and apathetic. They escape most of the miseries of life. But the wall never feels misery. The wall never loves, is never hurt. But it is the wall after all. Surely it is better to be attached and caught than to be a wall. Therefore, the man who never loves, who is hard and stony, escaping most of the miseries of life, escapes also its joys. We do not want that. That is weakness, that is death. That soul has not been awakened, that never feels weakness, never feels misery. That is a callous state. We do not want that. At the same time, we not only want this mighty power of love, this mighty power of attachment, the power of throwing our whole soul upon a single object, losing ourselves and letting ourselves be annihilated, as it were, for other souls, which is the power of the gods. But we want to be higher even than the gods. The perfect man can put his whole soul upon that one point of love, yet he is unattached. Okay. Well, I know that we started everything late, huh?
We'll be running 30 minutes.
We're running, so we have time for some questions.
Yes.
Anybody have questions, Swami?
Then we can get back on schedule. No questions.
Thank you.
So, what is the next program?
Yes.
Is it on the screen so you can see?
We have a break at 12:30. Right? If there is anything to explain, another 10-15 minutes, we're fine. Or more or less discuss. Now, because the food is coming. ministry of
Yeah.
the
So, thank you, Swami. That is the tough topic. We also need to have attachment sometimes. And thanks a lot. And the food is slightly getting delayed. We have another 15-20 minutes it is expected to take.
The housekeeping announcement.
Yes.
Including the food bank.
Yeah, sure. And if I have few announcements, and after that, before the lunch, if you can meet with Swamis here, and if you have any questions, that is there available, please feel free to come and meet Swamis. And for the rest of the day agenda, that is we have lunch until 2:20 p.m. And from now, whenever it is available,
Lunch is,
available now.
yeah, little later.
Yeah, a little later. From the time it's available, we will have lunch until 2:20 p.m. We have time.
Right.
So we request you kindly come back at 20 p.m. and we will have Swami Sumanasanandaji gets started with the sessions on time. So followed by that, we'll be having a small short break just for 5 minutes. And that is you can just refresh yourself, go and just come back. Then we will have the choir program. So as soon as the choir is over, we will be having a 30 minutes tea break. But very sharply, we will start our evening aarti at 5:30 p.m. So we request please be back and seated at 5:25. We very strictly maintain the time. That is we start aarti promptly at 5:30 p.m. So please come back and join aarti. As soon as the aarti is over, we have a 10 minutes silent meditation. So, please don't make noise in case if you would like to leave. And after the 10 minutes meditation, we will adjourn for the day.
About the food bank.
Yes, I'm coming. And few other announcements. If you can bring slide to the forthcoming events in the screen, please. Slide 2. On August 27th, Sunday, between 3:30 to 6:30 p.m., we have a special divine musical program. Sri Rajeshwar Mukherjee will be singing on vocal. He is visiting from India. And Sri Rajkumar Chattopadhyay will be on tabla. So we request the participants to donate an amount of $20 per head to cover the cost of the arranging this program with the visiting musicians. On September 10th, Sunday, from 3 p.m. to 6:30 p.m., we have a discourse by Swami Medhananda, who will be visiting us from Hollywood, Southern California Hollywood Center. And he will be taking the session on the topic, Is This World Real? Then we have our annual day celebrations coming up on September 23rd and September 24th. 2 full day programs. It starts at 10 o'clock, the first day goes all the way until 8 p.m. And the second day starts at 11 a.m. and it goes until 6:30 p.m. And we will be having most 4 of our Swamis will be visiting us during those 2 days. Swami Sarvadevananda, Swami Atmajnananandaji, Swami Sumanasanandaji will be coming again, and Swami Sarvapriyananda. Okay, and so on both the days, spread out throughout those days the topic will be the path of 4 yogas.
I think Prapanandaji is coming.
Oh, okay,
Not so much.
okay.
But someone.
Prapanandaji.
From Sacramento.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
For the September.
Not the Sumanasanandaji.
For the September program.
Okay, sorry, my mistake. So I have not taken the notes properly. Sorry for correcting me. And I will take care of the correction. Yeah, thank you for this one. And so then the first day, so these 4 sessions will be spread out both days, both morning as well as in the evening. The first day we have the puja and the pushpanjali in the morning, and in the afternoon we have the choir and the aarti. And we have the choir and aarti on both days, the first day as well as the second day in the afternoon. And the second day morning, we have a special divine musical program, a sitar program by Hindol Chattopadhyay. He is visiting from India, and we will be having Nitin Mehta from Boston, who will be accompanying him on this tabla. We will be sending out full email communication. We will be publishing more details, the complete agenda in the website. As soon as you see this, we kindly request you please register online. It's very important you register online within the stipulated time, so that we can, it will be very helpful for us in, planning the head counts and organizing for the food in an effective manner. We kindly request you all the times you register online. I also would like to make use of this opportunity at this time. We sent an appeal recently requesting sponsorship for various items, expenses for the annual day celebrations. Devotees came generously, come forward, and that is they have donated generously. And from VVCC, we wish to express our very sincere, heartfelt thanks to all of them in making us to continue this holy service, that is in a most effective manner. Then also we would like to look at our website, look at our communication. Our center is open every Saturday and Sunday between 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. Look at the email, look at the website. Please come and participate in Aarti and meditation whenever you can and it is possible. Sorry, I'm just taking a couple of more minutes. I will just complete. Yes.
I personally, I know that I did not receive that email about the helping with the fundraising kind of thing. Can you mention? Will it be possible to send again? Because I'm afraid others might have missed it too.
Sure.
So for some reason it might be going to spam or whatever. I didn't get it at all.
Okay, I will check. I had sent out, personally, I am the one who is sending look at the mailing list and possibly figure out, if something has happened and inadvertently it went out to all the people. But let me check, again, go and check.
And maybe another time, send another time.
Sure.
It happens.
Thank you for sharing.
And also Ramnam.
Yes, and in addition to that, every first Sunday, we chant Ramnama Sankirtanam. We start 1 hour early, 4:30 to 5:30. I get immersed. That is this really, that is, I have been singing this ever since, I was studying in Ramakrishna Mission Students Home, Chennai. So it's a common practice. It's really, it's melodious. Both the Aarti song as well as the Sri Ramanam Sankirtana, that is we used to sing during Sri Ramanami days. And on second Saturday, the same time, 4:30 to 5:30, we have a satsang, right? That is reading about Sri Ramakrishna and discussions. Please also join. So on these 2 days, we start 1 hour early, but we promptly start the Aarti at 5:30 p.m. as soon as it is over. Yeah. So then I just wanted to say about the VVCC mission here. That is what is our mission, right? Foster a community who follow the teachings of Sri Ramakrishna, Sri Sarada Devi, and Swami Vivekananda. Engage and emphasize the ideal of practical Vedanta. Disseminate the teachings of Vedanta to the younger generation. Help develop a community and leaders with broad values of exclusivity. Okay, sorry. Did I say inclusivity? Oh, I'm sorry. Oh my God, sorry about that. Okay, so then VVCC vision. Provide a place for current and future spiritual seekers in Connecticut to gather and practice following Sri Ramakrishna's ideals and Vedantic philosophy. Maintain a quiet, inviting, and a secluded atmosphere for meditation and reflection. Arrange lectures from Swamis and spiritual practitioners to share the wisdom. This happens every single month. We have at least one Swami visiting us, that is from all over the country and sometimes from abroad. That is we organize. Please do visit us and join us. The communication goes to every registered, that is participant in the email list. And if you have not registered in our email distribution list, please feel free to go and register in the front desk so that we will include you in the mailing list. and follow Swami Vivekananda's ideals of worshipping God through service to humankind. And finally, one another small request, and we all know that we are just very young. We just started up only about 2 years ago, and we would request devotees, that is to come forward whatever the way they can. We have a huge mortgage capital to be repaid, amount to be loan to be repaid. We roughly, we plan to pay at the rate of about $20,000 per year. Whatever the thing we can contribute, that would be good, and no amount is small. And the second thing is, on a longer term, we are planning to expand our center with a rectory and a residence, Swami's residence, so that the Swami can reside here. That is assuming, thinking, with the Thakur's blessings, Master Swami's blessings. The rough expenditure expected is $500,000. It's a long-term capital plan. So whatever the thing you can do, if you can come forward, that would be really nice. And anything else?
Can Dan give some idea of the karma yoga he's planning?
Yes. You want to talk about something karma yoga?
Karma yoga is kind of few things, something out. What do you, like, no, just to, you get to learn some ideas. All right. Ground space.
Volunteer work.
Volunteer.
All right.
Yeah.
You want to say something?
Yeah. So just to give thing, right? We not only welcome you to come and participate in Arati, come and participate, volunteer, get involved. So if you want to provide some service like tutoring something or educating something or taking a Baladika's class, come and suggest. If you have somebody who wants to learn, who wants to join the sessions here, please do so. It's just we can connect both of them. We can make use of this, wonderful opportunity, the service we can do, and also participate in Karma Yoga. And one person who has recently come forward, who has been extensively spending lots of time at our center in maintaining the facility is Dan Johnstone. So he will share some of his thoughts, uniting, that is about the Karma Yoga activities he is doing, how people can participate and join with him in maintaining our center.
Kind of spontaneous.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, so I've been taking care of the grounds and things like that, and if anybody's interested in doing any of those things, and if we ever start doing any repairs on things, even if people don't have any skills, I can teach. Yeah, when we start, I guess if there's anybody who's interested in that stuff at any point, and if they want to help out or anything, like I think when we're going to be doing when we're getting ready for the annual event, we're going to be doing like trimming on some trees and things like that. I mean, nothing dangerous, but
Collecting wallpapers.
yeah, and we're going to be taking care of the facility, going over little things. So even if somebody doesn't have any skills, I can watch them, I can help them out, and so everyone has the potential to contribute.
Also, you are doing a wonderful job with the microphones.
Oh yeah, thanks. And yeah, so I think that's
And about the parking lot, Swamiji, and you can decide.
okay.
We have some ideas. Thank you so much.
Okay, well, thanks.
And thanks a lot. Now is the time before the lunch arrives, to interact with Swami. Swami is available. And thanks for coming over here. I think the lunch is available already. I see Rahul here outside. So I think it might take a few minutes to set it up. I'm not sure whether it is already ready. So we have time until 2:20. So we will be back here shortly at 2:20. Thank you.
It was a wonderful tour. You were going when I was and then
Okay.
every single thing, and the best one was that we go far and I think that was much so because I get so patient. Every time I could see them, I couldn't find them. I didn't know that we were making, but this is a lot of work. What am I doing? See, Gopal and everything. You can do that. so important. It's a wonderful. Thank you so much.
আসতে একটু দেরি হয়ে গেছে না আমি দেখলাম ঠাকুর কৌশল করে আপনাদের আমরা ঢুকলাম তারপরে আপনি
Yeah, we knew everyone would be late.
Clip.
Good, sharp eye.
Younger I get, sharper my eyes.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. Good.